Welcome back to Bhakti Yoga, part 4. We know that Bhakti Yoga starts when we determine to change ourselves, to reduce our Asuri Sampat and develop our Daivi Sampat, using the freedom within us. It is the same freedom that we use to raise ourselves from gross carnal desires of Kama to Prema, then to Bhakti, reaching Sakshatkara, seeing God in flesh and blood. You may call it as God realization. Then various types of Samadhi, the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, then the Parabhakti. Ultimate merger is moksha, state of total bliss, total knowledge and total power. We have seen in the life of Sri Ramakrishna how he raised himself to great heights of God realization, getting the glimpses, getting the darshan of Mother Kali, later on other gods, Rama, Krishna, and it all culminated in the teachings of Advaita by Thotapuri. The Thotapuri, the master of Advaita, taught him, and he went into deep heights of that Nirvikalpa Samadhi in just few minutes, which bewildered Thotapuri. And through this experience, when he came back, he had the conclusion that all paths of bhakti lead to the same goal if they are pursued till the end. When he slowly came back to his wakeful consciousness, Thotapuri was so delighted, so thrilled, so very happy. At the same time, he was most astonished as to how this man, who is so much attached to Mother Kali, can overcome all his attachments and go into the Swarupa. And he was able to understand through the later conversations with Sri Ramakrishna that path of devotion also equally purifies. The mind is in a state of absolute polarization, state of complete saturation, and it is this power that can take to the very root of the mind as well. It was great education for Thotapuri. Later on, through many incidents that he underwent in the company of Sri Ramakrishna, that path of devotion also is equally true. That path of devotion also would raise a person to the highest levels of Advaita if he pursue that path of bhakti. It's only that he will be using the emotions and going into the higher and higher levels of softer and gentler emotions until he learns how to go to the very root of the emotions. That is the wonder tool, bhakti, that we have been talking about. But then, this journey which Ramakrishna taught, the spiritual journey to reach the highest peaks and glory, was to be further augmented with a greater knowledge base, and he had not yet answered the comments made by Thotapuri about bhakti. He had told that bhakti is just a concoction of the mind. The vision of God, the darshan of God, the God realization is only an imagination of the mind, like a jaundice eye. How can we meet this great objection, which always has been there for devotees to answer, for the bhaktas to answer? So let us now look at various stages of our mind. We have the three stages, three levels of consciousness in which we live: the wakeful consciousness, the dream consciousness, and the deep sleep consciousness. When we are awake, we believe that this is absolutely real, but when we go into the dream, we think it's all unreal. Similarly, when we are in the wakeful world, we think that this pen is very real, this watch is very real, and all that we see through our eyes are real, all that we hear are real, and so on. But when we get the jaundice eye, we know that there is some distortion in my eye, and therefore I see the world yellow. Though the world is not yellow, I understand that because of my defect of the eye, the world appears to be yellow. The philosophers like Kant and others said this whole world appears to us the way it is because of the 5 windows through which we perceive them. Imagine that I have got X-ray eyes. What is it that I am going to see? I see only skeletons and bony figures in front of me. All the beautiful body with muscles and shapes, and the so-called beauty is all gone. Imagine I expand the eyes much more. I start getting cosmic ray eyes. What is going to happen? The eyes can go through even the skeletons. I don't see any of the human beings whatsoever, and only big concrete blocks like 10 foot appear as some vague objects. So the whole appearance of this world is dependent on the spectrum with which I see. The opening of the window, I am seeing like this, and therefore the perception of the world is dependent on my senses. And the quantum physicists today understand that this object is not as solid as we think. This table is not as solid as we think. They are all nothing but packets of energy called quarks. And therefore, what we see is not a reality. What we see through our eyes is different from what it is when we look at from a microscope. When you look at from an electron microscope, it is still different. When you go to the tool of the mathematics and start seeing by various very, very subtle equipment, what we see is absolutely different. So then what is real? What is real is energy, and all other things are its manifestations and ramifications. Call it appearances or manifestations, and you can transform from one to another. An iron piece can be converted into gold piece if you go and then make the structural transformations at the atomic level. All that has been made possible through understanding of modern science. Therefore, the world that we see and the world that is understood by science are different. The reality is different. What we see is different. Supposing I remove energy from this object, energy from this object, energy from different things, what remains? There remains nothing. Therefore, there is nothing apart from energy here. There is nothing apart from energy here. And therefore, this world is full of only energy, energy, energy. Therefore, the vivid differences, the diversities, the fascinating attractions of the world are all dependent on my senses, dependent on my 5 senses, and the sharpness of my mind and the brilliance of my intellect, and therefore it is a product of our subjectivity, product of our senses, and therefore the world doesn't have the existence as we think as very, very real. Therefore, in a sense, it is a product of the subjectivity of all of us in this world. Now, let us take the next experience of the dream world. In the dream world, we say, oh, it is a dream, it is not real. This is very real. But in the currency of the dream, when we are undergoing that experience of the dream, in which you see the rivers flowing up, in which your friend has come and then has been talking to you very lovingly. Now you have become a king and you are ruling the kingdom. Many, many weird things happening, many wonderful things happening in your dream. During the currency of the dream, it is as real as this wakeful world. In the currency of the dream, you don't say that it's unreal. Only when you come back to this wakeful world, you say, oh, it was only a dream. Sometimes you regret it was a dream. Sometimes you are happy it was a dream. Because in the dream world, there is a lion that is chasing you and you are running for your life and the lion pounces on you and you scream and you wake up. It was only a dream. You are so very happy. You are not torn by a lion. Sometimes you are enjoying your life immensely. You have become a king and all sorts of comforts and palatial things. You are enjoying the world in the dream to the greatest extent, and you wake up to this world. You regret, how I wish it was true. Therefore, during the currency of the dream is as real as this physical world. But who has created this dream? Every one of us create our own dream world. It is the creation of our mind based on its preferences, based on its likes and dislikes. We create a world of our own. Therefore, this world has a Srishti Samarthya. In the wakeful world, we create different thoughts. Maybe we write beautiful poems. Maybe our creativity can blossom up and bring about wonderful creative ideas. But in the dream world, we actually create objects, the objects of the dream. And that is the subtle world that we have created. But then what is the difference between the Jagrat and the Sushupti and the Swapna? In Sushupti, you are all silent. The mind has gone into its seed form. It is frozen. And when you come back to the wakeful world, it wakes up again. It sprouts up again. And therefore, these are all the three phases of mind. The wakeful world, we give the maximum prominence as having the highest reality. The dream world, less reality or no reality. And Sushupti is sleep, deep sleep. It is all useless, it is silence. This is our normal understanding. When you go into certain pathological states, when you are in the influence of drugs, psychedelic drugs, you are your own world. You are in an euphoria. You are enjoying, you are developing. And you have forgotten all the worries and tensions and stresses. And that also happens to a psychotic. A person suffering from psychosis, like schizophrenia, has been living in his own world. These are all various constructs of the mind, one more real than the other. If some are pathological states, our normal experience, our dream world. Therefore, according to Patanjali, the great yoga psychologist, there are various layers of reality, and these layers of reality have mind as their common base. The mind manifesting itself as the dream world, mind manifests as a psychotic world, mind existing as a drug-induced state, altered states of consciousness, and some are more real than the other. But this wakeful world has the highest level of grossness, because these solids are very, very solid. It is common to all of us. Therefore, we think it is most real. But imagine, if a person gets the same dream again and again, as it happened to somebody in Italy, as I have heard, the person will go into sleep every day in the wakeful world, and he starts getting up in the dream world, and again he does all his activities during the day in the dream and sleeps in the dream, gets up in the wakeful world. When this happens again and again, one after another, weeks and months together, 6 months, what happened to him? He completely got confused. He got so confused that he started asking the question, what is real? Whether the dream is real or whether the wakeful world is real. Naturally, he could not go and find out for himself. He seeks the assistance of a psychiatrist of the wakeful world, and the psychiatrist of the wakeful world says, what are you talking? Are you nuts? Is there something wrong with you? How can dream world be real? Come on, I will give you some medicine to make you all right. He said, wait. That night when he slept, he goes into the dream world. Then he goes to the dream psychiatrist and asks, sir, please let me know which is real. The answer was the same. Both offered medicines to correct him. What does that show? Just because this wakeful world is coming again and again, we think that this is real. And since the dream world doesn't come back again and again, so we think that it's unreal. But the Vedanta, the Upanishads tell us they're all different levels of reality. As our mind grows to subtler and subtler levels, then the power also increases. Your creative powers will increase. Your happiness and bliss will increase. Our knowledge will increase as we fathom and higher levels of the subtleties of the mind or consciousness. And a stage will come when we will be able to create the world of the physical reality. So in this overall context, if we look at the bhakti path, then initially the God that he experienced, Sri Ramakrishna, the Kali, or Sri Rama, or Sri Krishna, was real only to him. It is a world that he has created for himself, like a dream world. It is absolutely real. He was able to talk to Mother Kali. He was able to converse with Sri Rama or Sri Krishna. But it was not real to other people. From that viewpoint, we can say it is just an imagination. It was just a concoction of the mind. But as his elevation grew to greater heights, as he went into higher and higher samadhis, as his mind became more and more subtle, then the perceptions also started becoming very real. There was a great bhakta of Rama who had come to Dakshineshwar. He had a small baby Rama, Ramalala, and he used to carry that idol wherever he went, and he would keep the idol there, and this great devotee would continuously play with Rama. For him, the baby Rama was a living embodiment. And when he came to Dakshineshwar, Ramakrishna was there, his disciples were there, and this great devotee was there. And the devotee was extolling the grandeur of Sri Rama, and he was playing with Ramalala. And Sri Ramakrishna also got into that great mood of Rama Bhakti, as Hanuman would have it for Rama. And he called, oh Ramalala, please come here, I am your beloved disciple, great devotee. And amazing thing happened. The Ramalala started walking, going to Sri Ramakrishna, which the other people could see. Not only that great devotee, but also the other disciples of Sri Ramakrishna could see the baby walking and reaching the lap of Sri Ramakrishna. The Sakshatkara, the God realization which is only real to him, has started becoming reality to others. We have greater incidences like that. So when we ask this question, is bhakti only an imagination? Once Sri Ramakrishna was strolling in the garden along with Mathura Babu, And Mathura Babu was making a comment saying that the laws of this physical world are infallible. They are governed by the Newton's laws of motion. They are governed by the quantum mechanics or the theory of relativity, whatever. And these laws can never be changed. And if you leave an object, it has to come down. There is no choice whatsoever. When hearing these things, Sri Ramakrishna made a comment, my dear Mathur, who created all these laws? Who is responsible for the laws that we see here? Science has no answer. But still, the modern scientists, as we all believe that these laws of nature are infallible, they cannot be transgressed. Ramakrishna said, it is the same God who has created you and me, has created the laws of this nature as well. Don't you think that if God wants to change these laws, He can do that? Mother Babu had a categorical answer, no. Therefore, Ramakrishna said, all right, please come tomorrow to this very place where you are seeing today beautiful red flowers. The whole tree was full of red flowers. Please come tomorrow and we'll meet here. The next morning when Mathura Babu came there, Ramakrishna standing by the side of that plant, he could see clearly the white flowers along with the red ones, and many white compared to the red. Mathura Babu had never seen this. He was bewildered. And he understood what Ramakrishna was talking. If it were the laws of that plant to generate only the red flowers, how can a white flower come up in that plant? Sri Ramakrishna says it is all God's wish. If God wants, He can completely change the laws. Yet another example, when Ramakrishna was doing the Hanuman sadhana, worshipping Lord Sri Rama as his prime deity, the saturation of Ramakrishna was so much on Hanuman that he was feeling absolutely that he is a Vanara, he is Hanuman embodied, and he was living on the trees and he was having all the interactions as he would do when he was Hanuman. And the coccyx bone extended by a few millimeters, which people have recorded, resembling the tail of Hanuman. What does that show? When the mind gets saturated, when the mind goes into that level of subtlety, then it brings about a physical transformation. These are called the siddhis. These are called the supernatural powers. For a long time, modern cardiologists believed that once the cholesterol gets deposited in the coronary arteries, you have to only cut open these arteries and you have to have an open heart surgery, and there is no remedy at all. And this is the only surgery that can help. But for the first time in the history of cardiology, Dr. Dean Ornish brought out this wonderful paper in the New England Journal, in which he has shown that if you change your lifestyle, then the cholesterol deposits, the solid deposits we have blocked the coronary arteries, can all be melted away, and you don't need a open heart surgery. The biggest of the revelations in the field of medicine. And therefore, what we think are the laws can be reversed if the higher laws starts intervening. That is the purport. We had examples of many great bhaktas, and we have a great bhakta in Karnataka. He is called Kanaka. He is known as Kanakadasa, a great devotee. And once he was going to his teacher. He was a cowherd boy. He was rearing the buffaloes, and when he went into the teacher, he found many disciples who were all initiated into the path of spirituality. into the path of bhakti, and Kanaka also was very sincere. He was innocent and pure in heart, and he goes to his teacher and asks, "Sir, please give me also some mantra diksha." The teacher says, "Well, are you sincere? Do you think that you will do all the sadhana that I prescribe? Can you do the japa? Can you love?" "Yes, sir, I will do." "Then please tell me, which God do you like best? Who is your Ishtadevata?" Then he started looking here and there. He was feeling guilty. "Okay, don't worry, if you don't have any Ishtadevata, doesn't matter. Whom do you like best? Your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, whom do you like best in your life?" Again, he was a little shy to answer in negation. Then he says, "Kanaka, please tell me, what do you like best? Whom do you like best?" He says, "I like my he buffalo, the Kona, whom I take every day for rearing. Oh, I love that he buffalo to the maximum. Oh, then I am going to give that mantra. The he buffalo is Kannada is called Kona. I am going to give you the mantra of the Kona. You have to take that Kona mantra and go on repeating that again and again, again and again. And you know, he is the great vehicle of the Lord of Death, Yama." And Kanaka went on worshipping, worshipping. Every day he will pour his heart, raised himself from the level of normal love to the prema, to the level of bhakti, and raised himself to the level of sakshatkara. When he gets the sakshatkara of Lord Yamadharmaraja coming on this Kona, the he buffalo, and Kona is, the Kanaka is fulfilled. He gets many, many more great powers as he raises himself in the path of bhakti. And when his teacher dies, then he has an intense desire to see Krishna, and he goes all the way down to Udupi, the place where there is a beautiful temple of Krishna. He wants to fill his ears and eyes with a wonderful, great vision of that Sri Krishna, the ringing sound, the wonderful worshipful devotional sessions, and the devoted devotees. He wanted to meet, fulfill his life. But when he went to the temple, the orthodoxy was in the peak, and they wouldn't allow Kanaka to enter into the temple. And Kanaka requests them, cries and says, "Please, please, just let me see the God, even at a distance, doesn't matter. Please give me a chance. I come all the way for several hundred miles to take a darshan of the great Lord Krishna." But they were heartless, and they wouldn't allow him to even have a glimpse of the great Lord. Kanaka was in great distress. He goes at the back of the temple and sings a great poem seeking the darshan of Lord Krishna. "Oh Krishna, why did you bring me from all those hundreds of miles here? For days and days traveling, and all the time wanting to see you in form." And when he started doing that prayer with intensity, then the miracle occurred. The temple wall opened up, and the Krishna was facing the other side, completely turned backwards, and Kanaka could get the glimpse of the great Lord in flesh and blood. Even today, this hole at the back is available for people to see. That's called Kanakana Kindi, the hole of Kanaka. How did that happen? The mind brings about a transformation at the physical level. The higher laws can intervene with the lower laws and bring about a change and the transformation. For a long time we believed that our nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, is absolutely involuntary, and the internal functions of the body which are governed by the autonomic nervous system, the beating of the heart, digestion of the food, the flow of bile are all controlled by the autonomic nervous system, and they are involuntary functions. Whereas raising of the hand and bending of the body, talking, everything is voluntary action controlled by the voluntary nervous system or the central nervous system. But as we grow in our understanding, we understood the autonomic nervous system is all not that autonomic as we thought. It is not as involuntary as we thought. We will be able to change and govern this autonomic system as well. If we take to the proper yoga practices, there are great yoga masters who are able to stop their heartbeat from 72 per minute to hardly 2 per minute, which were measured by the electrocardiograms, and the people were bewildered. How can this happen? And today is very well established fact that yoga can change your autonomic function effectively, showing that the higher powers of the mind, the central nervous system and the voluntary nervous system, which is having greater freedom, can bring about the change in the involuntary nervous system. In the same way, the laws of the higher koshas like pranamaya kosha, manomaya, vijnana, anandamaya kosha can bring about a change in the laws of the physical body, and that is the whole essence of the bhakti path. The basis is found in a very scientific manner in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali wrote those aphorisms of yoga, 196 sutras, and in the 3rd chapter called Vibhuti-pada, he talks about the Sanyama, which is beyond the Samadhi. The first 8 limbs of Patanjali, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, constitute what we call Ashtanga Yoga. All this culminating in Samadhi, the super consciousness at the 8th limb. But Patanjali doesn't stop there. You have to go beyond the Samadhis, and the next process to go deeper and deeper level of Samadhi is through a process called Sanyama. And he defines Sanyama as Trayam Ekatra Sanyamaha. Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi all put together, it's called Sanyama. And by doing Sanyama on the respective objects, you can get the supernatural powers. You can see the changes in the physical laws, and Sanyama leads to varieties and varieties of Samadhis, higher and higher Samadhis, and each higher Samadhi is featured with higher powers, with higher knowledge and higher bliss. Therefore, this forms the basis of the higher level operation. The higher level operation of bhakti, working at the subtle level of the mind, will bring about the changes not only in the body but in the external things. We get the power to create things of the physical world. We get the power to move the objects with our mind itself, psychokinesis. We will be able to transact at the mind level, telepathy, and many such ashtasiddhis which have been explored and expressed in great detail, systematized, and the methods to achieve them have been rigorously found and authenticated by the Patanjala Yoga Shastra, and therefore it is no miracle, it is no mysticism, it is no impossibility that the mind can create the objects. Therefore, the path of bhakti is validated on this basis, that when the bhaktas go to higher and higher levels of subtlety, deeper and deeper levels of super consciousness, higher and higher sakshatkaras, then they get all the powers to create the gods which can be seen even by others. Therefore, in the beginning, it may be only real to the person himself, like the dream world, which is not unreal to him. It is not just mental concoction or just imagination as we do. It is at a higher level. But when he goes into the higher levels of Samadhi, even the God will become a reality to others. he starts getting different types of siddhis bordering on ashtasiddhis, and therefore the path of bhakti is not just a mental concoction, but it is true to the core. Therefore, he came to the conclusion, Sri Ramakrishna, that all paths of bhakti are true. Seeing God in flesh and blood is not mere imagination. Seeing Mother Kali in flesh and blood is not mere concoction of the mind. It is not merely construct of the mind, as Totapuri said. Yes, compared to the mere imagination, compared to the daydreaming, it is much, much higher. But still it is not to that level of reality in which my God can be seen by others. It has not reached the reality of this physical world in that sense. It has not reached the reality level of this pen, of this watch. But as he goes higher, when he reaches the higher levels, then the God also will reach the reality level of the physical world. It will become as real as this pen, as real as this, as real as Sri Ramakrishna's disciples. That is the whole truth about the bhakti. But as I said, Gadadhara, Sri Ramakrishna was a great scientist. He did not stop there. He said, all right, I have been following the path of Hinduism. The gods and goddesses which I worshipped all belong to our heritage, and the Sanatana Dharma which we call as Hinduism. What about other religions? If I start worshipping Christ as it has been talked about and told, can I get the realization of Christ? If I follow Islam, can I get the realization of Muhammad? These were the bolder experiments which Sri Ramakrishna did. He started going into the church, took on the role of a Christian, and started worshipping Christ in the pristine purity of the biblical injunctions, following all the 10 commandments to the core, with the highest sincerity and prime love, total commitment and shraddha and respect to the tenets of biblical injunctions, the Christian tenets, and soon he was able to get the vision of Christ. So also his sadhana in Islam got him the vision of Muhammad, and the practice of other religions, Christianity and Islam, brought the visions which showed him that the religions are also true. Whatever has been told in the religions, that by following these tenets, by following these injunctions, you will be able to see Christ is possible. And now the question comes that Christianity and Sanatana Dharma, what is the difference then? The difference between Hinduism and Christianity is only in the vowel. Christianity says Christ is the God. Hinduism can accept that Christ is also a God. When we say that Christ is a God, we have the pervasiveness, we have the open-mindedness. We can say that Christ is also a God. Just like Rama, Krishna, Hanuman, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Vishnu, Brahma, Ishvara, like that Christ can be another God. We have no difficulty in accepting it, but that will not make us Christians, because Christianity says that you have to believe that Christ and Christ alone is God, and no one else can be God. That is the difference. And Sri Ramakrishna was able to realize this truth, and he said, if only Christians can become broad-minded, then the path can be further followed until it can reach the moksha, it can reach the eternal freedom, and that is the realization. Therefore, he came to the conclusion 5. He says all religions can lead their followers to the ultimate goal of moksha, nirvikalpa samadhi, and It has to be followed. Only when it is followed, if followed with great care and caution, by converting fanaticism to one-pointed devotion. Having an open mind, and not to say that the religions are wrong, you just go on in your path and tell that my religion is great, my path is wonderful, it is so soothing, it is so blissful, and it can take you to the highest level. Either you do not comment about others, or if you have greater knowledge and understanding and wisdom, you can accept other religions also as true. That is the open-mindedness, that is the one-pointed devotion. Therefore, Ramakrishna realized many great conclusions. God exists. It is possible to see God in flesh and blood as we can see others. Conclusion number 2, whatever may be the path of bhakti, the bhakti will give us the God realization. If you worship Rama, you get the realization of Rama. If you worship Krishna, Krishna comes in flesh and blood to you. And whatever God you worship, the God will reveal himself in that shape and form. Second conclusion. Then third conclusion, all paths of bhakti, if you continue, it will lead you to the nirvikalpa samadhi. It will take you to the source of all thoughts and Advaita. And the fourth conclusion, that seeing God, God realization or sakshatkara is not only a mental imagination or concoction of the mind, it is not just a construct of the mind, but it is a living reality to the devotee. And this God realization, when continued further, can become an actual reality which is valid even in this physical world. That is the realm of different siddhis, various types of ashtasiddhis that the bhaktas get and demonstrate automatically as a natural consequence. And the last conclusion, that all religions are true. If these religions are followed with meticulous care and go as one-pointed devotion, they can take to complete realization or moksha. Having come to these conclusions, the far-reaching consequences of Sri Ramakrishna's life message, they were transmitted to Swami Vivekananda. As he started living in the state of parabhakti, he has reached the highest levels of bhakti called parabhakti. And how is this parabhakti described? Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param bhaktim labhate. Such a devotee, such a great sadhak will reach that state of parabhakti. How is he? He is same to all beings, and he obtains that supreme devotion to me. And it is this equanimity, samatva, shunichaiva swapake cha panditaha samadarshinaha, is the state of the great jnanis as well. It is the state of great bhaktas as well, and all great yogis reaching this level of parabhakti, the advanced bhakti yoga, with all the powers that they may possess, still they are most loving, most affectionate, and attuned to the self. These sadhaks overcome all worries and desires, and they will be in a state of immense bliss all the time. The fragrance of that bliss would be oozing out of their thing. And particularly in Sri Ramakrishna's life, he would just go into that ecstasy, he will go into that samadhi, just hearing the word of God, hearing the beautiful music about different gods, or even while talking, conversing, he will go into that ecstasy. And during this ecstatic stages, he was in a very vast blissful state. and the bliss will be coming out, oozing out of his whole system. And we have a very, very interesting incident. Girish Babu, a great drunkard who was known for his drunkenness. He has tried out all types of drinks in his life, and he hears that there is one person like Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, and he is very, very happy. He is very, very blissful. He goes into the samadhi ecstasy. He wanted to come and see. That morning, he just walking across, he comes to Dakshineshwar, and as he enters, he sees this old man standing, and he has gone into ecstasy with hands and legs and the whole body standing like a statue, but his face is full of smile and brilliance and bliss coming out of his thing. Girish could see an ecstatic bliss, a bliss of fantastic dimensions. And when Sri Ramakrishna slowly comes to the wakeful awareness, the first question he asked, "What brand, sir?" "I have tried all brands of wines that is available in the whole world, but none of these brands gave me this level of happiness that you are reflecting through your whole physique. I want to know, what is that wine that you have drink? What is that special brand of wine that you have consumed, which has given you this ecstatic bliss?" And Ramakrishna in a very humorous way says, "Oh, don't you know, it is God brand. You want to drink that? Come on, come on, I will show you. You can drink that and you will get into that great bliss." That is the state of Parabhakti, state of immense bliss, immense joy and tremendous love, universal love, love for everyone, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, sect. The person will be with immaculate love. Swami Vivekananda called that as universal love. And that tremendous amount of love, unattached love, is such that he loves everyone. And therefore, he is in tune with the cosmic order. And Krishna says, this is a state of high level parabhakti. Yasman no dvijate lokaha, lokan no dvijate chayaha, harsham harshabhayodvegaihi, mukto yassacha me priyaha. A person who loves everyone equally in the world, from the lowest to the highest level, he is equal. At the same time, the world will not get disturbed by his presence, because he is only sending the vibrations of peace, love and harmony. And therefore, lokaha na buddvijate, the world will not get disturbed in his presence, and he will not get disturbed in the presence of the world. And that is the state of equanimity, that is the state of objectivity, that is the state of complete balance in which he lives. And that is the parabhakti state. And in this state, he is beyond the dvandvas, harsha, marsha, bhayodvegaihi. He is free from the dukkha and the sukha, happiness and misery. He is beyond the excitements and the depressions. He is beyond the fears. And no dualities will touch him. He is equal in all respects whatsoever. And such is the case of samatva. And we know such samatva is the key factor in all the great advanced yogis. And that's what he is telling here. Such a great devotee is very much dear to me. And such a person, how can he express this universal love? Because he sees the same God everywhere. Seeing God everywhere, all the time, is responsible for this universal love, is responsible for this equanimity. And in every animal, every insect, every human being, even in the inanimate objects, he could see God in manifestation. He understands it is the same consciousness that has come here. Just as a quantum physicist understands that the weird diverse universe starting from a small fundamental particles on one side to large astronomical dimensions on the other side, the whole diverse physical universe is nothing but that energy, energy, energy. In the same way, a Parabhakta understands it is a living reality for him that this whole creation is nothing but Lord in manifestation, God in manifestation, consciousness in its being, and that is the revelation. That is the state of living. Therefore, there is universal love that is spread everywhere. Swami Vivekananda, on that very auspicious day for India, September 11th, 1893, he brought out this great wisdom of Sri Ramakrishna to the forefront in the Parliament of Religions in Chicago. When he stood up and addressed the big thousands of audience, he said, "Brothers and sisters of America," by these words he mesmerized the public, and everybody started clapping, started giving him standing ovation, and while all others addressed the people as ladies and gentlemen, here was a unique saint from India, the great disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, addressing the foreigners, Americans as brothers and sisters. When he addressed, he was not just making an emotional appeal, but he was condensing the whole essence of our Sanatana Dharma. He was condensing the whole essence of this Bhakti wisdom. He was condensing the whole essence of the yoga dimension, that basically we are all one, we are all Anandamaya Kosha. And in Anandamaya Kosha we are all really one. We are all made out of that Ananda, the bliss consciousness. So your bliss consciousness, my bliss consciousness is all same. Therefore, causally we are all one. It is from this Anandamaya Kosha we are all born, and we start differentiating ourselves. Therefore, we have forgotten this real truth that we are all really brothers and sisters. And to remind that, Swami Vivekananda had addressed the people as brothers and sisters of America. And that had the biggest impact. And overnight, he was crowned as the greatest orator, greatest speaker of the assembly. And the India heralded its greatness on a single day. The Sanatana Dharma was resurrected. What Ramakrishna had dreamed had started coming true. What Sri Ramakrishna wanted in the darkest of ages has started fructifying. Where all people had lost their confidence, they all had got convinced that we are material beings and there is no God. We had started turning Nastikas, disbelievers of God. Here was a new message. The new message brought in the most modern language of the West by the great brilliant genius of Swami Vivekananda, and that is the grandeur. So this Parabhakti which Sri Ramakrishna lived, showing that universal love to everyone and showing that equanimity in his life, was portrayed in the words of Swami Vivekananda in that Parliament of Religions. And as a result, we had a great day, and the dark ages has started receding. The new effervescence started coming in, and India started changing. So let us see further what happened in the whole context. Thank you.